Hello everyone. Today I will be showing you guys one method of braising a beef shank. Now this is a very economical recipe as this is a very cheap cut of meat and it produces a very good final result if you know what you're doing and you prepare it properly. And to that point, there's a bit of food chemistry I'd like to get into with this particular dish that oftentimes I don't see people bring up enough. So this is a beef shank. Now you'll notice it's actually a little discolored. That's just oxidation. It's not gone bad or anything. If you purchase this cut of meat when it's red and it does this a day or two later, you shouldn't throw it out. You shouldn't be worried. It's just oxidation. It's a completely natural process that isn't an indication of spoiling or anything like that. And if you're at all worried about it, I'd suggest giving it a smell. If it smells off, then maybe throw it away, but this one smells fine. So your nose is actually a better indicator than your eyes in some cases of whether or not something's gone off. In fact, sometimes oxidized meats like this will come at a discounted price because they're not bad. It's just they're not as pretty and they aren't seen as valuable. So you might be able to actually get a discount and have the same great product. So if you're new to cooking and your knife skills aren't quite as proficient as maybe you'd like them to be, I would suggest chopping up your ingredients before you even start cooking. In this case, 1 medium small yellow onion and 4 celery ribs. You could also optionally add carrots to this, but I don't like carrots, so I don't add them. The first step is to sear the beef. So I have a heavy cast iron pot over high heat, high flame, and once it's hot enough, I'm going to put the beef in and let it sear on both sides. Alright, so now the beef is searing away, and because this is going to cook for so long, it's going to be, well done, slow cooked all the way through. You really don't have to worry about overcooking it here, so just sear it until you get a really good caramelization on each side. Alright, so once the beef is seared to your liking, just go ahead and place it on a plate to rest. And as you can see, there's a lot of fond that's been built up on the bottom of the pan. So the next step is to add the onions and celery. Okay, so the onions and celery are in. Also, you should add a bit of salt to try and draw some extra water out of the onions. You just make them cook faster, and it'll help them deglaze that fond off the bottom of the pot. Now, as soon as the water has come out of the onions, for the most part, it's recommended to turn the heat down to about medium because these ingredients are frying, and if you leave the heat on high and you don't stir often enough, they could very easily burn. If you want it to go quicker, you think you can get away with it being on high, you want to stir this pot, be my guest, but with the video going, I can't do that. Alright, now that the mixture is cooked for a couple minutes, it's time to add a couple ingredients. First is some crushed garlic. In this case, I used about 2 cloves. You are also going to want to add some tomato paste and a bit of Worcestershire sauce. And once you're satisfied with how much all of this is cooked down, you can add some white wine to deglaze. Red wine will also work depending on what flavor you're going for. Now, once the wine is reduced, you can add either water or chicken or beef stock. In my case, I used some of this roasted beef base that's store-bought. Some people might not like that for a reason I'll get to in a bit. If you are one of those people, just use chicken base. It's no problem. Or just use water. So why might I say that some people might not want to use the roasted beef base from the store or store-bought beef stock, any of those things? If you can see, has yeast extract in the ingredients list. And some people really don't like that. In case you didn't know, yeast extract is, yes, Marmite, Vegemite, that sort of thing. So, I have no problem using this. I think it gives the dish a very rich flavor, and I have no problems with it. But if you have a problem with it, there's nothing wrong with using chicken or Just water. Alright, so the next step is to put the beef shank back into this mixture, bring it up to the boil, and let it cook for 6 hours at a low simmer. And don't forget the accumulated resting juices. Okay, so it's up to the boil now, and it's time to cover it. For the most part, you want to leave a little bit of space right at the lip. In fact, that might even be a little too much. Yeah. But you do want to leave it partially covered, turn the heat to low, and keep it on a bare, gentle simmer for about 5 or 6 hours, checking every 30 or so minutes. Now, at this point, you should actually also probably taste it to see if maybe you missed an ingredient or it needs more of an ingredient and you can quickly fix it. And it should actually taste way too acidic. And I'll get to why that is in a bit. Also, after you've tasted it, it's essential to remember to put the bay leaf that you forgot into the dish. So as this is simmering away, I figure I'd talk about what's happening chemically with this dish. A beef shank is a relatively tough piece of meat. It's made up of a lot of working muscles and held together by quite a bit of connective tissue. There's a lot of collagen in this cut of meat. Under these hot conditions, and over time, the collagen in the bones and connective tissue will break down into gelatin. And gelatin is what makes dishes like this so rich and delicious and sumptuous. And it's also very good for your health, especially the health of your joints. In addition to the collagen in the bone, the calcium is also slowly dissolving away. Now, sometime during this cooking time, usually after anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 to 3 hours, you'll notice that the bone marrow is cooked through, and if you wanted to, you could actually spoon that out and eat it right now. And spread it on toast, eat it that way. Sometimes I'll do that for like an appetizer. Alternatively, you could just let it continue cooking and let the bone marrow dissolve into the sauce. And honestly, I don't know which is better. Both are very good options. Also, you'll notice I'm not really giving any specific ingredient amounts. Honestly, for this recipe, that's not that important. If you wanted to like double or triple the veggies or chop the onions up bigger, add more garlic, add a whole nother ingredient, remove an ingredient, change an ingredient, it really doesn't matter. It's really a very forgiving recipe. You can add a lot of different stuff to this and it'll be good. And yes, you can even swap out the beef. I've done a similar recipe with chicken before and it turned out great. So it's been a few hours, and if you ever feel like you need to add a little bit of water to prevent it from reducing too much, feel free. Alright, so this is cooked down beautifully, and now the next step is to remove the bone and adjust for seasoning, salt, and most importantly, acidity. Chances are, when you taste this mixture, it's not going to taste acidic at all, because the calcium that came out of the bone brought the pH back up. But basic foods don't taste very good, so it's a good idea to adjust with something like this red wine vinegar. Just a splash or two and correct until it's your desired acidity. Remove the bay leaf, add salt and pepper to your liking, and reduce the sauce down to as thick as you want. And then you're done. Now the only thing left to do is to serve this with some polenta or mashed potatoes, and, well, dig in. Hope you all enjoyed. See ya.